All right, so let's go with politics and the church.
Fun. It's not one of those things you really think about. At least I don't.
I know I don't think about that. I was like, okay. So I thought, like, with the priesthood leadership, my thoughts were like the different like the I'm trying to think how to put it. The hierarchy of it. So how we have like the organization within the church for everything. So there's like the bishop and his counselors and how everybody has like their own responsibilities.
Yeah.
And how things can go from the general authorities and work their way down through to stakes and other general like other leaders and everything. And how certain things, start with the religious society, and then if they need something, they go higher up, and then if it doesn't work there, they keep going higher and higher until they.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was, and some of that is more of a formal, like looking at like the formal means of like the social stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like written that that's how it's supposed to be, and that's how the channels you're supposed to go through.
Yeah. And one of the things that happened in my ward, live in a place where a lot of the priesthood holders of the church have jobs where they're away from home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of years ago, we got it so instead of just having 2 counselors, the bishop had 3 counselors. And that was something that they had to get permission. I'm not sure how high up they needed to go, but they needed permission. I think from someone even higher than the stake president.
Mm-hmm.
As one of the
I've seen like I know in like in my ward and stuff, there's been like the people who like she was in our ward for a long time and then she moved
Mm-hmm.
and she moved out of the ward boundaries and even out of the stake boundaries.
Yeah.
And she wanted to stay in our ward, and so she had to um get permission from the first presidency in order to keep her records in the ward, even though she was out of the ward boundaries and everything. And I know that's something that's like written.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're out of stake boundaries, but if you have a certain circumstance, you have to try to go through. And so, because there's even people that, like, there was a lady in my ward that she was offended by people, or she felt offended. And so she decided that she wanted to be in a different ward in the stake. And so she just had to get the stake president's permission to have her records moved.
Wow.
Yeah. And then thinking of other formal, like, written things in the church, looking at like people who get their names removed from the records of the church.
Yeah.
And how that's like a full written process, and that it gives you step by step, this is how it's done. And so let's see, yeah, things like that are written down, like paying tithing and all of that. And so like I think of like the different commandments and that let's see, yeah, like so I was thinking of like the informal ones too.
Yeah.
Like just different things like with like suggestions from the church. Like when they say about like caffeine or like piercings, different things that they suggest, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like it'll affect your temple recommend if you do.
Yeah.
It's not a formal thing.
And even like those things we consider that we should be doing, like going to church every Sunday and reading your scriptures and praying. I mean, those aren't things that are written down as you have to do these to be a member of the church.
So those are informal means of social control.
Yeah.
because they're suggestions, but there's nowhere that it's, yeah.
But if you're not doing them and people know that you're not doing them either because you've told them or because they see you're not at church, I mean, they'll say things, or, people from the ward will go out and, hey, why weren't you at church? And
Yeah.
encouragement and stuff to get you to do them.
And, I mean, there's like with like the tithing, like paying tithing and stuff, or, yeah, I mean, there's no way for the bishop to know that you're not paying a full tithing other than asking you, and some people can still lie about that anyways. And so, I mean, see, that's written, but what else? I had a way I was going with this. Oh, yeah, like going to church on Sundays, like every Sunday, or even like going to mutual. That was something that it's not required, but we all did anyways because, you wanted to be included. If you didn't go to mutual, you weren't in with everybody in the ward.
Exactly.
Or like with my ward, everybody kind of hosted their own little like party, every type of party thing at their house every week. So pretty much everyone from our age group would all get together. And I never had them at my house, and so I was like, because of that, I was less likely to get invited to the other ones because I never had them, and that was just something that they all did. But it was kind of like a standard in our ward that everybody had one.
Yeah.
Conflict resolution. That's one I thought was.
Yeah, that's one of those things you think because you hear all the stories, like you said about the lady in your ward who left the ward because they got offended or there was a conflict, and there's people who leave the church entirely because someone says something to them that they don't like. And
yeah. Or with looking at the whole ordained women stuff that was going on and them excommunicating people.
Yeah.
It was causing a lot of conflict within wards and stakes and different areas.
Yeah.
So there's a certain way that they were instructed to handle it. And so like with like the church disciplinary council stuff and all of that, they were like, when you're on formal probation, everything is written and you're handed a sheet that says these are the things you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, most people, when you go through repentance process and stuff, it's informal and they just kind of tell you, hey, I don't want you to pray out loud in church or speak out loud, just kind of sit there, go through the motions. Don't partake of the sacrament. Like, they verbally just say it to you. But when it's the formal probation, when you're facing like excommunication, like that was it. It was all written in a sheet that they were given. I can't start the light.
Know that. Never had much dealing with stuff like that, or if there has been in any of the wards I've lived in, I've never realized because the church tries to keep those things private, and sometimes you find out. But
see, I found that out in not only from like the Facebook pages of those people, because they would post and it was everywhere, but in one of my religion classes we talked about it. Like because we were talking about disciplinary councils. And I mean, most people, it's an informal probation just because, sometimes it's not serious enough, or the bishop doesn't feel that it's, worth writing it down as, this is like pretty much on your record type of thing. Like most bishops are very lenient and loving, and I mean, once you get to that point where you're causing a lot of issues, or it's something that's so serious that you seriously are facing excommunication, there has to be written documentation.
Yeah.
So
going to say for a lot of people, having it written down probably also isn't needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you make a mistake and you go and you say you want to repent and you're honest about that, then you're probably not going to want to do things that the bishop tells you not to do until you've completed the process.
Yeah.
Not necessary to write it down, other than maybe to help you remember.
Mm-hmm. I say it's like it'd be like a teenager coming in and being like, so I have an issue with drinking, and like they're going through the repentance process with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, for them, they don't need to, it's like, okay, you're trying to humble yourself, and we, and so they're like, okay, I understand. There's no need to, I'm just going to suggest you do these things, or you get like the temple, a couple that's sealed in the temple, that one commits adultery. At that point, it's formal.
Yeah.
Of the it's one of like the unforgivable sins type of thing.
Yeah.
So good. Let's see. Say different, like certain conflict resolution. Like when I was in Young Women's, I had the Young Women's president call me some derogatory names in front of everyone.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't too happy with that because I was a Maya maid, and I got really upset. And I told the bishop, I was like, she called me this, and just to let you know, in like 2 months when I turn 16 and I move up, I will not go to Young Women's if she doesn't apologize, like, because it was completely uncalled for and
Yeah.
inappropriate. And I mean, because being 16, I was like 15, I wasn't gonna go to her and be like, hey, you need to apologize to me, because I was an adult and I felt weird.
Yeah.
And so the bishop actually called her out and talked to her and told her, that's not okay. This is how we lose the young people. And there's you had no right to say anything like that to her.
Yeah,
And
especially in front of other people. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be name calling anyways.
yeah.
But she, like, the bishop called both of us into the office one Sunday, and she sat down and she apologized for everything and tried to make amends, because he felt there was no reason for there to be a like animosity in there, and didn't want to cause any more. And so, I mean, shortly later she was released, but it ended, yeah. But I mean, because of that, having the bishop as like a mediator, it made it a lot easier than getting my mom involved and having my mom go off at her,
Yeah.
or different things like that. So it was good to have like a neutral party, and that's
Mhm.
I noticed that's how a lot of the conflict resolution goes within wards.
Yeah. Again, it's not something I have a lot of experience with, but like you say, having someone neutral and who has like the power, like we talked about earlier, because of his position in the church, it's probably one of the most effective ways there is if you need to have someone else involved.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I say something I noticed too with like different conflicts in the church. When it comes to like there's different things going on,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to call individual people out, I've noticed like they'll do, like with either young men and young women, when they notice there was like issues with like a few people had issues with like pornography, or with struggling to consider going on a mission, they
Mhm.
would have like a special fireside or like fifth Sunday lesson that would be
Yeah.
all on that subject. rather than trying to convince individual people. They just talk to everyone about it.
Yeah, which is, again, one of those really good ideas because you don't know who all's struggling with it. I mean, you might know that person A and B are, but person C could also have the same issue and you wouldn't know. So it helps everyone and not just a couple people. And it also prevents those people from feeling like they're being, specifically talked to about it. And because that probably leads to other issues that you don't want.
Mm-hmm. I do that with sacrament talks too. Like when they feel there's a certain thing that needs to be talked about in the ward, they'll assign people about with talks.
Yeah.
They did it with my mom with unity. Like they're just like, here's unity. And of course she was inspired to talk about like having like a unified ward
Mm-hmm.
and having us all, we're talking about missionary work within, trying to expand our ward, but really we need to unify as a ward together in order. It's one thing just to go and baptize and get more people, but it's maintaining everyone.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's one way I see that they do things. But
I think even without being assigned talks, just like you said, with the inspiration, I think a lot of people will, if they're given free range, talk about whatever you want, like missionaries, when they get that, they'll frequently all end up talking about a similar subject that I imagine a lot of people in the world probably needed to hear at any given time.
Mm-hmm. And that's a way that like within the church, I mean, when you pray for like revelation or for knowing what to do, I mean, that's something that I've noticed a lot of people do. Like, well, not that we're instructed to do, but that we all end up doing is you pray.
Yeah.
Like it's suggested that you pray for help with answers to questions or different things. And that's how most people try to help solve their problems or go to the temple to pray about things, pray about decisions.
Yep. Praying about decisions a lot in the temple is.
All right. So as I scrolled through this, I think that's about the last bit that I had. Is there anything else you have?
Nope. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Great. Then I guess that will wrap it up for this week.
Okay.
All right. So I will see you next week.
Okay.